Billionaire mother sees Black Waitress let her disabled daughter lead a dance step, and then changes her life forever. Victoria Chun watched in horror as her 8-year-old daughter Maya stood up from their corner table at Manhattan's most exclusive restaurant. The little girl's leg braces caught the crystal chandelier light as she moved toward the narrow space between tables. "Mom, can I ask her to dance?" Every conversation in Meridian Restaurant stopped. Silverware froze mid-air. Dozens of Manhattan's elite turned to stare at the disabled child approaching their Black Waitress. Victoria's billion-dollar empire meant nothing in this moment. She was just a terrified mother watching her daughter walk straight into public humiliation. "Maya, sit down. Now." But Maya kept walking toward Jasmine, the young waitress who had just served their drinks. The restaurant fell so silent Victoria could hear her own heartbeat thundering. "Excuse me," Maya said, her voice small but clear. "Would you like to dance with me?" The shock was instant. Victoria felt every eye in the room judging them. Her daughter with cerebral palsy, asking a stranger to dance in front of people who saw differences as defects. Jasmine looked down at Maya. No pity crossed her face. No embarrassment. Instead, she smiled and set down her tray. "I would be honored. Would you like to lead?" Victoria's breath caught. Led? Everyone always helped Maya, guided Maya, corrected Maya. No one had ever asked her to lead anything. Maya's face exploded with joy. "Really? You'll let me lead?" The best dancers always lead from the heart. What happened next shattered everything Victoria thought she knew about her daughter. Maya began moving with grace that defied medical predictions. Her left foot dragged slightly, her balance wavered, but she was leading. For the first time since the brain infection that gave her cerebral palsy, she was completely in control. Jasmine followed every step, every turn, every hesitation. She moved like someone who understood that this dance was about connection, not perfection. "This is completely inappropriate." Marcus Thornwell, the restaurant manager, appeared beside their table like a storm cloud. "Mrs. Chun, our staff are professionals, not entertainers. This is a fine dining establishment, not a dance hall." Victoria felt protective fury surge through her. She had built a $3 billion technology empire by never backing down from fights. But before she could speak, she saw Maya's face crumble with shame. "Maya, come back to the table." Her daughter's shoulders sagged. She began stepping away from Jasmine, the magic broken by adult disapproval. But Jasmine didn't release Maya's hand. "My shift ends in 10 minutes. I'd be happy to finish this dance then." "That won't be necessary," Victoria replied automatically, her CEO instincts prioritizing damage control over her daughter's happiness. "Some invitations are too important to decline," Jasmine said, looking directly at Victoria with eyes that seemed to see straight through her carefully constructed walls. Before Victoria could respond, Jasmine was moving again. Not away from Maya, but in a slow, careful circle that honored every one of her uncertain steps. Maya giggled, embarrassment forgotten in pure joy. Victoria watched, frozen between admiration and terror. Her daughter was leading a complete stranger in a dance that had nothing to do with technique and everything to do with courage. No one was correcting Maya's posture, adjusting her movements, or trying to make her look normal. When the piano melody ended, silence stretched like a held breath. Maya beamed up at Jasmine, then at Victoria, then at the room full of watching strangers. If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We are just a small channel trying to grow. And do not forget to comment where you're watching from. Thank you, and back to our video. "Thank you," Maya said with the formal politeness Victoria had drilled into her. "That was the most beautiful dance I've ever had. Thank you for asking me. It takes real courage to invite someone to dance." As Jasmine turned to leave, Victoria found herself standing without conscious decision. "Wait!" The word surprised everyone, including herself. The entire restaurant held its breath, waiting to see what the billionaire would do to the waitress who had dared to dance with her disabled daughter. "What's your full name?" "Jasmine Williams, ma'am." Victoria reached into her purse and withdrew a business card. heavy ivory cardstock that had open doors across 3 continents. She extended it, aware that every eye in the restaurant tracked the movement. My office tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Jasmine accepted the card without hesitation, though Victoria caught the slight tremor in her fingers. Around them, the restaurant buzzed with whispered speculation about what would happen to the waitress who had stepped so far out of line. Should I bring anything specific? Just yourself, Victoria said, though she wasn't entirely sure why she had made the offer. And maybe your thoughts on what children like Maya really need. As Jasmine walked away, Maya tugged on Victoria's sleeve with her stronger right hand. Mom, why did you give her your card? Are you going to fire her? Victoria looked down at her daughter and saw something that made her chest tight. For 3 minutes, Maya had been exactly who she was meant to be. Not a patient, not a victim, not a problem to be managed, but simply Maya. I don't know yet, sweetheart, but I think I need to find out what she knows that we don't. As they finished their meal in gradually returning conversation, Victoria couldn't escape one haunting realization. A stranger had done something in 3 minutes that Victoria's army of specialists hadn't accomplished in 18 months since Maya's diagnosis. She had made Maya believe she was worth following. The question that would keep Victoria awake that night was simple but terrifying. What else had she been getting wrong about helping her own daughter? Victoria Chun stood at her office window 30 floors above Manhattan, replaying the moment Maya had danced with a stranger. In 12 hours, that same waitress would walk through her door. What Victoria didn't know was that everything she thought she understood about helping her daughter was about to collapse. Mrs. Chun. Her assistant's voice cut through her thoughts. Jasmine Williams is here for your 2 o'clock. Victoria turned, expecting to see a nervous young woman intimidated by the glass towers and marble lobbies of Chun Technologies. Someone grateful for whatever opportunity a billionaire might offer. The woman who entered was nothing like what she expected. Jasmine Williams wore a simple navy dress and carried herself with quiet confidence. No fidgeting at the panoramic city views. No wide-eyed staring at the wealth surrounding her. She looked directly at Victoria with the same intelligent eyes that had seen straight through her pretenses the night before. Mrs. Chun, thank you for seeing me. Victoria gestured to the chair across from her desk, studying Jasmine's composure. She had perfected the art of making people nervous, using silence as a weapon in boardrooms across 3 continents. The calm response simply waited Victoria off balance. Tell me about yourself. Everyone wanted Victoria something finally from her. Said. Everyone what would you had like an to angle, know? A pitch, a price. Your background, education, why you're working as a waitress when you clearly have more to offer. Jasmine's smile was slight but knowing. I have a master's degree in developmental psychology from Columbia. Specialized focus on adaptive movement therapy for children with neurological differences. Victoria's pen stopped moving. Excuse me? I also have certifications in pediatric physical therapy and dance movement therapy. I've published research on non-traditional approaches to motor skill development in children with cerebral palsy. The words hit Victoria like physical blows. This woman wasn't just a waitress. She was exactly the kind of expert Victoria had been paying thousands of dollars to consult. Then why are you serving tables? Student loans don't pause for idealism. Research positions pay barely enough to survive in Manhattan. Victoria leaned back, reassessing everything. You knew who Maya was the moment you saw her. I knew she was a child with cerebral palsy who wanted to dance. That was all I needed to know. But you recognized me. You knew about my foundation. Chun Technologies Foundation. You've rejected funding for my research proposals 3 times in the past 2 years. The admission hung in the air like an accusation. Victoria felt heat rise in her cheeks. I don't personally review every funding request. Proposal 2023-047. Adaptive Dance Therapy for Pediatric Neurological Recovery. Proposal 2023-089. Community-Based Movement Programs for Disabled Children. Proposal 2024-012. Integration of music and movement in cerebral palsy treatment. Jasmine recited the numbers like precision strikes. Each one landed with devastating accuracy. Those proposals went through proper review channels. They were rejected without evaluation. Form letters citing insufficient alignment with current foundation priorities. Jasmine's voice remained steady, but Victoria caught the flash of frustration. Priorities that apparently don't include helping children like your daughter. Victoria stood abruptly. You orchestrated last night. You used Maya to manipulate me. Maya's request to dance was completely genuine. But when I recognized your reservation name and saw the opportunity to demonstrate rather than explain, Jasmine stood as well, meeting Victoria's gaze. Yes, I took it. You exploited my daughter's vulnerability for your research agenda. I gave your daughter 3 minutes of being exactly who she is without anyone trying to fix her. Jasmine stepped closer. When was the last time someone asked Maya what she wanted instead of focusing on what she couldn't do? Victoria's mind went blank. 18 months of specialists, therapists, and medical consultations. Not once had anyone asked Maya what she wanted. What do you want from me? I want you to see what I've built. The program your foundation has rejected 3 times. The one that could help hundreds of children like Maya. Victoria moved to her desk, fingers hovering over her phone. She could have security escort this woman out. Return to the safe world of expensive specialists who measured Maya's progress in millimeters. Or she could face the possibility that everything she had been doing was wrong. Where is this program? Brooklyn. A converted warehouse where children discover what they can do instead of being defined by what they can't. Victoria looked at the city sprawling below her office window. Somewhere out there, 20 minutes away, was a program that might have the answers she had been desperately seeking. I'll follow you there, but I want honesty. No more manipulation. Complete honesty, Jasmine agreed, including the truth about why your foundation really rejected my proposals. As they prepared to leave, Victoria felt something she hadn't experienced since Maya's diagnosis. Not hope for her daughter to become normal, but curiosity about what Maya might become if someone finally stopped trying to fix her. The drive to Brooklyn would take 30 minutes. Long enough for Victoria to discover that the solution to her daughter's struggles had been waiting in her rejected proposal pile all along. Long enough to realize that the person who needed to change wasn't Maya. It was her. The converted warehouse in Brooklyn looked nothing like the pristine medical facilities Victoria was used to. Colorful murals decorated the exterior walls, and music drifted from open windows. As they climbed the stairs, Victoria wondered if she was making the biggest mistake of her life. Then she heard the laughter. Victoria pushed through the entrance and stopped dead. The space had been transformed into something magical. Soft lighting replaced harsh fluorescence. Mirrors reflected joy instead of clinical assessments. And across the floor, a dozen children with various disabilities were dancing. Not exercising. Not doing therapy. Dancing. A girl in a wheelchair spun in graceful circles while a boy with leg braces led a small group through movements that looked nothing like the rigid exercises Maya dreaded. These children moved like they owned their bodies, limitations and all. This is movement freedom, Jasmine said, watching Victoria's stunned expression. How long have you been running this? 3 years. Since your foundation rejected my first proposal. The words hit like a physical blow. For 3 years, while Victoria had been paying specialists to measure Maya's progress in millimeters, this program had been operating 20 minutes from their penthouse. A teenage boy with cerebral palsy guided another child through a sequence of steps. No one corrected his technique or tried to make his movements look normal. They simply followed his lead. Why didn't anyone tell me this existed? Because I don't have the credentials that impress foundation boards. No private practice on the Upper East Side. No connections to the medical establishment you trust. Jasmine led Victoria to a wall covered with documentation. Before and after photos of dozens of children. Progress charts showing improvements that surpassed anything Maya's current therapists had achieved. But most striking were the faces children who had arrived withdrawn and fearful, now radiating confidence and joy. We don't measure how close they get to normal. We measure how fully they become themselves. Victoria studied a photo of a girl who looked remarkably like Maya. Same age, same type of braces, same hesitant expression in the before picture. The after photo showed the same child leading a group dance, her face glowing with pride. I need to bring Maya here. Today. Victoria checked her watch. Maya's school day would end in 2 hours. For 18 months, she had been picking her daughter up for medical appointments Maya dreaded. Right now, I'm calling her school. 90 minutes later, Maya's face pressed against the car window as Victoria's driver pulled up to the warehouse. The 8-year-old had been unusually quiet during the ride, clutching the bag containing her favorite dance shoes. Mom, are you sure they want me here? Victoria's chest tightened. 18 months of medical appointments had taught Maya to expect places where she would be measured, tested, and found lacking. They specifically asked for you, sweetheart. The moment they entered the studio, Maya stopped walking entirely. 20 children moved across the floor in a symphony of different abilities, each one dancing to their own rhythm. Maya! Jasmine approached with the same warm smile she had worn at the restaurant. I'm so glad you came. Are you ready to dance? Maya looked around the room, then at Victoria, then back at Jasmine. But I don't know how to dance like them. Perfect. That means you get to teach us how you dance. The simple statement transformed Maya's expression. Victoria watched her daughter's shoulders straighten as she processed the idea that her way of moving might be valuable rather than wrong. Jasmine led Maya to a circle of children sitting on colorful mats. Victoria started to follow, but Jasmine gently touched her arm. Parents watch from the observation area. This is Maya's time to lead. Victoria felt familiar protective panic. Maya had never been in a group setting without her hovering nearby, ready to intervene. What if she needs help? What if she discovers what she's capable of when no one is trying to protect her from being herself? Victoria moved to the windowed observation area, her hands pressed against the glass like a guardian watching her child take first steps. Hi everyone, Jasmine called to the group. This is Maya. She's going to show us some new moves today. A boy with leg braces similar to Maya's waved enthusiastically. I'm Marcus. Do you like music as much as you like dancing? Maya's face lit up. I love music, especially classical. It sounds like feelings. Victoria watched in amazement as Maya settled into the circle like she had belonged there forever. No one stared at her braces. No one spoke slowly or used overly cheerful tones. They simply included her. Maya, would you like to choose our warm-up song? Jasmine asked. Maya's eyes widened. I get to choose? You get to choose. Claire de Lune. It sounds like moonlight dancing on water. As the familiar melody filled the space, Victoria watched something extraordinary happen. Maya stood up and began to move, not with careful, measured steps her therapists encouraged, but with flowing, intuitive movements she made at home when she thought no one was watching. Her left side was weaker, her balance imperfect, but her interpretation of the music was breathtaking. She moved like moonlight itself, gentle, ethereal, completely her own. The other children didn't copy her movements. Instead, they found their own ways to express the music Maya had chosen. Marcus created sharp, staccato beats that contrasted beautifully with Maya's flowing style. The girl in the wheelchair became a spinning moon around Maya's gentle orbit. Mom, look, Maya called out mid-movement. I'm teaching them my dance. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. For the first time since the diagnosis, Maya wasn't trying to move like everyone else. She was moving like herself, and others were following her lead. The music shifted into a complex passage, and Maya attempted something Victoria had never seen her try. A turn that required balancing entirely on her stronger right leg, while lifting her weaker left leg in an arabesque position. Victoria's heart stopped. Maya was going to fall. She was going to fail in front of all these children. Maya wobbled. Her balance wavered. But instead of falling, 2 children stepped forward, not to catch her, but to create a living support system that allowed her to complete the movement safely. The entire room erupted in cheers. Maya, that was incredible, Marcus called out. Can you teach me how to do that? Victoria watched as her daughter became a teacher, breaking down her movement into steps the other children could adapt. Maya wasn't receiving help anymore. She was providing it. When the session ended, Maya ran to Victoria with eyes blazing with excitement. Mom, did you see? I taught them my dance. And they taught me theirs. Can I come back tomorrow? Victoria knelt to Maya's level, seeing her daughter with completely new eyes. How about we make this your new dance class? Maya's squeal of joy echoed through the warehouse. As they prepared to leave, Jasmine approached Victoria quietly. There's something you should know. Next month, we're having our first public showcase. Maya's already asking about participating. Victoria tensed. She's never performed in public. She doesn't have to, but she's been talking about wanting to show other kids what we do here. Victoria looked at her daughter, who was already making plans with Marcus for tomorrow's routine. What would she need to do? Just be herself. That's all any of them need to do. For 18 months, Victoria had been trying to help Maya fit into a world that didn't understand her. Now she was watching her daughter create a world where she belonged exactly as she was. Sign her up. As they drove home, Maya chattered non-stop about her new friends and her excitement about the showcase. Victoria listened, realizing that for the first time since the diagnosis, Maya was talking about her future instead of struggling with her present. The question that had haunted Victoria for months had been answered in a single afternoon. Maya wouldn't just be happy again. She would be extraordinary, not because she had overcome her disability, but because she had learned to dance with it. But first, Maya would have to prove to the world that different doesn't mean broken. It just means you get to create your own steps. Chapter 4, The New Beginning. 3 months later, 200 people filled the auditorium for the first public showcase of the Movement Freedom Program. Medical professionals, potential donors, families, and reporters all waited to see what Victoria Chen's foundation had been funding. 8-year-old Maya Chen Martinez stepped up to the microphone, her leg braces catching the stage lights. Victoria sat in the front row, her hands clasped tightly. 6 months ago, the idea of Maya speaking publicly about her disability would have terrified her. Now, watching her daughter adjust the microphone with calm confidence, Victoria felt only pride. Hi everyone, Maya began, her voice clear and strong. My name is Maya, and I want to tell you about the day I learned that being different doesn't mean being broken. The audience leaned forward, captivated by this small girl with no notes, no script, just her own truth to share. 6 months ago, I thought my brain being hurt made me wrong. I thought my leg braces made me weird. I thought dancing was something I could only do alone when nobody was watching. Victoria's eyes filled with tears, remembering all the times she had found Maya dancing secretly in her room. But then I met Miss Jasmine at a restaurant, and when I asked her to dance, she did something nobody had ever done before. Maya looked directly at Jasmine in the audience. She let me lead. The simple statement resonated through the auditorium. Victoria noticed reporters taking notes and parents wiping away tears. For 3 minutes, I wasn't a patient who needed help. I was just Maya, and my way of dancing was good enough. Maya's voice grew stronger. That's when I learned that different doesn't mean broken. It just means you get to move in ways other people haven't discovered yet. Maya stepped away from the microphone and moved to center stage, where Marcus and 5 other children were waiting. The music began, Claire de Lune, the same piece Maya had chosen for her first day at Movement Freedom. What followed was pure artistry. Maya led the group through choreography that celebrated each dancer's unique way of moving. Marcus used his leg braces to create rhythm. Sarah in her wheelchair spun like a centerpiece around which the others orbited. A boy with cerebral palsy contributed movements that looked like poetry in motion. Victoria watched, transfixed, as her daughter demonstrated the arabesque turn that had been her breakthrough moment. But now, instead of wobbling alone, Maya had taught the other children to create a support system that allowed each of them to attempt movements they never thought possible. The audience was completely silent, absorbed in watching children who had been told what they couldn't do, showing the world what they could create. When the music ended, the silence stretched for 3 heartbeats before the auditorium exploded in applause. Maya returned to the microphone, slightly breathless but glowing. We want to show other kids that there's no wrong way to dance. There's no wrong way to move your body. And there's definitely no wrong way to be yourself. She looked directly into the television cameras. If you're watching this and you think you're broken because you're different, you're not. You're just waiting for someone to let you lead your own dance. As Maya stepped away, Victoria felt something shift in the auditorium. Parents were looking at their own disabled children with new eyes. Medical professionals were rethinking patient agency. Reporters were capturing a story about empowerment rather than inspiration. After the formal program, Victoria watched families approach Maya, asking about the program. A mother with tears in her eyes told Maya her daughter had cerebral palsy too, but had been too scared to try dancing. She doesn't have to be scared, Maya replied with wisdom beyond her years. She just has to find her own music. Later, as the auditorium emptied, Victoria found herself standing with Jasmine near the back, watching the impact of what they had created. I owe you an apology, Victoria said quietly. For what? For almost missing this. For almost keeping Maya from discovering who she could become. You didn't miss it. You learned to follow your daughter's lead. They watched as Maya demonstrated a movement to a new program participant, her patience and encouragement mirroring how Jasmine had first approached her. She's going to change a lot of lives, Jasmine observed. She already has, starting with mine. Maya ran over, still buzzing with excitement. Mom, did you see? 5 families want to join our program. And the reporter said our story might help start programs in other cities. Victoria knelt to Maya's level, seeing her daughter not as someone who had overcome her disability, but as someone who had learned to dance with it. I saw everything, sweetheart. You were magnificent. 6 months later, the movement freedom methodology was being implemented in hospitals and community centers across the country. Maya's TED Talk about redefining ability was viewed by over 2 million people worldwide. Victoria had learned the most valuable lesson of her life, that true leadership isn't about controlling every outcome, but about having the courage to step back and let others show you a better way forward. The dance that began with a simple invitation between strangers had become a movement. And at its center was a 9-year-old girl who had discovered that being different didn't make her broken. It made her extraordinary. If you enjoyed our story, hit the subscribe button for more inspiring stories and don't forget to like and share.